Ladies and gentlemen, if there is one organization in our proud nation which is apolitical, irreligious, and which always delivers when there is a call of duty, you would all agree it's the Indian Armed Forces. Be it external aggression, national security, or floods, landslides, avalanche, tsunami, earthquake, or even saving a small child who is underneath those open borewells. You would have seen those incidences. The soldier is at play. So, if we look at a soldier's life, it is very, very tough, and it depends on the terrain that they operate in. Be it deserts, be it mountains, be it jungles, be it guerrilla warfare, be it land, air, sea. The difficulty and the challenges keep increasing. And especially in the mountains, if you look at the attacker to defender ratio, it is very high. See, for example, if we have to attack a post which is at a very high altitude on the top feature, which is occupied by a section of 10 men, we need to launch a company strength of 100 of our soldiers, just so that at least 10 of them reach on top and defeat the enemy. So our attrition rate is very high, almost 80 to 90%. And our attrition is permanent. Our attrition comes back in body bags and coffins. So that is the situation. That is the situation. Now, if we look at the business, in business, we do a mistake this quarter, we can make up for it in the next quarter. If we lose market share this quarter, we can make up for it in the next quarter. However, in the armed forces, if a child is orphaned this quarter, that child is orphaned for life. If we look at the journey of a soldier, and today we are talking about the theme which is tradition meeting technology. In the forces, I can tell you, tradition just doesn't meet technology. Technology is very, very well ingrained and integrated into tradition, the tradition of 3Ds: discipline, devotion, and the call of duty. And we use technology as a force multiplier to do the 3Ds, which is to defeat, destroy, and decimate the enemy. If we look at, and you would have observed this in the recent Op Sindoor that happened, and how precise we were in defeating the enemy. So a soldier, actually, a soldier does not require a PowerPoint presentation to prove a point or to present some statistics as it was called for. A soldier is the PowerPoint, he is the power force, he is the power behind the purpose, and he is the power that protects. So, if you look at, I would like to draw your attention to this photograph. This was a dream come true for me. He's my hero, a true hero. Captain Bana Sikh, a Paramveer Chakra. There are just 21 Paramveer Chakras in the last 79 years. Most of them posthumous. He is a living legend. And what did he do? Just take a look at this feature. This used to be called the Quaid-e-Azam post, Quaid post, named after the founder of Pakistan, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. That's the importance of this post. as I was mentioning to you, in the mountains, it's all about occupying those dominating peaks. The more dominating you are, the more advantage you have. And we were here, the Sonam Post, so sitting like dead ducks. This is not just a small feature. It is a 1,200 feet feature, dominating feature with an overhang. So just imagine he and his men led us through this and took this feature. That is Captain Bana Singh. He has fought one of the bravest wars ever fought in the history of mankind. And I can vouch by this because I have had a slice of this story. Siachen, the highest and the coldest battlefield on earth. So what's happening here? Imagine, look at, just look through Bana Singh and his team's operation. He has fought this battle in the highest of altitudes, 22,000 feet, in the lowest of temperatures, minus 40 to minus 60 degrees centigrade. Here in Bangalore at 18 degrees, 16 degrees, we all start shivering. Oh, I need a sweater. I'm very uncomfortable. Right? At the most rarefied atmospheres, there is just enough oxygen for us to not even breathe, just 10%. It's like almost somebody's choking your neck all the time and you still have to breathe. You're hyperventilating all the time. That is surviving. And on top of it, you have the enemy firing at you all the time. That is Siachen, ladies and gentlemen. And he has won that war for us under such circumstances. So just to give you a perspective of what Siachen is all about. So on to the east, we have the occupied Kashmir. This is all declassified information, by the way. So, and on to the west, we have Aksai Chin, which was the land that was illegally ceded to China. And this is the ceasefire line. Siachen is a 78-kilometer stretch, and it is one of the largest reservoirs of fresh water. Karakoram, it's also called the third pole after the north and the south pole, and operating at the highest of altitudes. And if you see this ridge, this is the ridge that we are talking about. Sorry. Yeah, this is the Saltoro Ridge, and this is Billafont, and that is where the Bana post is. Bana is called the Mecca of Siachen. Anybody who serves at Siachen, they tell you, oh, you've been to Bana, their eyebrows will raise. So this is that small segment of land that we are talking about. India has a border of 15,000 kilometers and about 7,500 kilometers of a coastal line. And we are talking about 78-kilometer stretch. And in that, we are talking about one post. Just a quick summary of what led us to this war. 49th, after the first Pakistani operation post-independence, we signed the Karachi Agreement. After that, after liberating East Pakistan or today's Bangladesh in 1971, we signed the Shimla Agreement. And in this, Siachen was specifically called out because of this unforgiving conditions, uninhabitable conditions for human beings. You don't even find a blade of grass out there. And hence, it was agreed upon that we will leave this as a no man's land. However, our friendly neighbors had their plan, so they started intruding into the glacier in the garb of mountaineering. And however, that was called out by Colonel Narendra Kumar, who's also called Bull Kumar. I have had the good fortune of meeting him twice in my life. He has lost all his fingers and toes. Yeah, he took the recce operations and gave very specific inputs to our higher echelons. And finally, we launched Operation Meghdoot in response to Op Ababil. And Operation Meghdoot, ladies and gentlemen, is the longest fought war in the history of mankind. 13th of April 1984 to be specific, and that's still on. The consequences: India occupies 2/3 of the glacier. At what cost? 869 deaths, 800 due to non-enemy action. Most adverse conditions, avalanches, chilblains, frostbite, high altitude cerebral edema, and 6 crore per day. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's much, much higher today, given all the inflationary indices. And why? Because most of these posts, 150 manned mirroring outposts, most of them, especially in the northern part of the glacier, that has to be maintained by air, even if it's a small, pretty little jerry can of kerosene, which is like a lifeline for us, or whether it is Russian, everything has to be heli-dropped under inclement weather conditions. Yes, these are all the newspaper clippings that have started coming recently. Unforgiving battleground. So this doesn't seem to be working. Yeah, we lost Lance Nayak Hanumantappa. This was featured in the media because back in time we didn't have any such media coverages happening. Yeah, that's me sitting there, and back in time we didn't have any Google imagery, so it used to be these hand-drawn maps or those miniature sand model exercises we used to do. And if you observe these dots, the black dots, these are all our posts. And these 3 dots are the enemy posts. Okay, I will not name those posts. So it's all about occupying dominating peaks. The more dominating peaks you have in your hand, you have a distinct advantage. But one wrong move, because they are observing us, we are observing them, and that's why it's called a mirroring post. One wrong move, we had it. So that's the feature I'm talking to you about today, the Bana post, named after Captain Bana Singh. See, just look at this feature. This is how it simply metamorphosizes because of excessive snow, 35 feet of snow. The same feature looks like this. Yeah, a quick slice of my journey through this, commissioned in Military Hospital, Belgaum. I was thinking that I'll be here at least for a year or so, but within 3 months, the bugle was blown and the war was declared, and we were all deployed into Leh, Ladakh, Kargil, Dras, and thereafter Siachen. So that is the Thois airport from where we were airlifted and put here. So the glacier is divided into 3 parts, the southern, central, and northern glacier. Northern glacier is absolutely not motorable. From here on, it's just walking and trekking and nothing else. As I mentioned to you, it's all maintained by air. Siachen battles cold. Now, this is where the transformation happens. We were not experts in mountaineering and ice crafting, but we were transformed. The lesson here, it's all about creative destruction. Like what Supriya was mentioning earlier today, the human potential is simply unlimited. Destroy the old to create the new. We lost our identities. Nobody was worried about our identity, whether I'm an officer or a soldier. No, it was to make us and transform us into expert mountaineers and ice crafters, because you have to survive the action. You have to survive and you have to succeed. And this is what starts happening here. You can see me climbing those ice walls. It requires a lot of training. And this is the base camp. This is the temple, OP Baba. You will see the deity out here is one of our soldiers who gave his life fighting the enemy in Siachen, and we treat him as the guardian angel. The lesson here, know the pulse. I cannot go as a leader and say, hey, I don't believe in such things. I need to know the pulse of my people and play to their strengths. Every single day, we would go to that temple, look at the photograph of the deity who's our own soldier, OP Baba. आज एक ऑफिसर, एक जेसीओ, 10 जवान हाफ लिंक से फुल लिंक तक जा रहे हैं हमारी रक्षा करना. Battle school. So every foothold, if you see those crampons, 3.5 kg co-flash boots, your feet and your strength has to be so strong. Just on those pincers, your entire body weight has to be taken. You can see you're climbing these ice walls. Just imagine here, at least we have tethered Bana Singh, this is at 120 or 200 feet ice fall. It keeps changing based on weather conditions. 1,200 feet, somebody has to scale under enemy fire, go defeat the enemy on top. Don't you think that's a battle, one of the toughest battles that he has fought for us? And that's why I consider him my true hero. Yes, the journey to Bana Post is, we are all tethered together. We go together on top or we die together. We are a team. It took us 19 days. Look at this. We are all going. One slip, we are down. Knee-deep snow, thigh-deep snow, cotton blizzards. Already we are struggling to breathe. On top of it, you have a blizzard hitting us. But yes, there is unity. There is a purpose. There is a mission in hand. We have to do that. Different. So this is where training comes in handy. How well are we trained? So en route, we encounter these ice walls, all those rings. Yeah, you can see me. So this is the bunch that I led. We used to encounter crevasses. The topography keeps changing. You have to launch ladders, move on top. One wrong move, you go down into the crevasse. Finally, from the Sonam post, you see the Bana top. You can see the small dot, that's soldier trying to climb on top of the Bana post. This bigger box is a box of ration that's being pulled out. At this line that you see here, it's not just a small line. It's almost like a 20 feet crevasse, which you have to maneuver and then get onto the feature. Yeah, on Bana top. Reach there for a casualty evacuation. The highest post on earth. That's Bana top. Within a day, there was intense shelling, and you can see our fiberglass hut being plundered, and we are all hauled up inside. But still the smile is there. You can see this gentleman still smiling, That is happy leadership amidst crisis. Then comes an avalanche within about 3 days. And in this avalanche, we lost our men. In fact, one of the people who had walked with me, we lost him. So after this, the evacuation happens. You have to really find out what happened to those mortal remains. It took us 1.5 months to retrieve those mortal remains. This is how air evac happens. The choppers don't even land oftentimes because the air is so rarefied, it will be just hovering. It will be hovering like this. And you have to somehow ensure that your casualty is loaded into the chopper under extremely inclement conditions. Weather conditions cannot be predicted. Yeah? I went with the idea that I'm an officer, I'm a doctor. That idea was changed. You're first a soldier, then an officer, then a doctor. So we used to do patrolling duties, guard duties. That's an ADA gun, Air Defense Artillery gun. You would have seen that in action during Op Sindoor as well. So we used to fire these guns. We used to do LMGs, and that's the ice cave. And we used to thrive on chocolates. It's something that we so casually do out here. We breathe fresh air. We take a shower. Nothing. 3 months, 6 months, nothing. Simple morning ablutions that we go. Impossible. 5 layers of clothing. You have to hold on to a rope and sit. And sorry to say, that is how it is. And we have our Sahayak waiting. Saab ho gaya kya? That is the situation. That is the ice cave. Shelling is happening. We have entered into this ice cave. This is the entry into the ice cave. Then we are sitting there and there is intense shelling happening. But the smiles have not vanished. The smiles are still there. And you can see there's some gali golach also that happens. Sometimes we intercept our Pakistani friends and suddenly they start raining abuses. We start raining abuses. All these things happen, and that is a part of our entertainment. So I mentioned to you, no fresh drinking water, no fresh food. If the taps go dry, we start worrying, we start complaining, we start jumping around. Where is the tap? Where is the water? Where is the food? Where is the air? The health effects. Frostbite, mountain sickness, even a simple headache, if ignored, can take the life of our soldier. That's called high altitude cerebral edema. Chronic problems, permanent memory loss, premature aging, hypertension. So I'm just seeing a sick report, and if you see this, these are all those tents which are made of those parachutes which were used to drop ration, right? So that's improvisation in action. These are the plaques that we get for our service in the glacier. That is the transformation that happens from olive greens to the corporate. And just recently, about 3 months ago, I was called by my battalion in Western Command, and we were honored for our service there. Yeah, that's the Wall of Fame. You can see me. That's the incentive that we get. We are not driven by ESOPs or pay hikes or employee of the month. None of those jamborees for us. Yeah, it's just this. It keeps us riding. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world, the VUCA world. And Siachen is the definition of the VUCA world, where leadership really matters. We have to take life-changing decisions, life and death decisions in this ever-changing, fast-paced environment. And how do we deal with VUCA? Volatility with vision, uncertainty with understanding, complexity with clarity, and ambiguity with agility of vision. So it is a fast-paced world. We just saw COVID pass by. We didn't learn our lessons. Russia goes after Ukraine, and Israel Hamas happens, and we go after somebody else. Somebody else goes after somebody else. I mean, where do we stop? Do we learn our lessons as humans? Are we all ready for the VUCA world? So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's my slice of the story. So, if at all, if you have any regrets in life, please look at the Indian Army soldier at Siachen Glacier. For there's not a reason why, there's but to do and die. Thank you very much.